Yo primero tuve un sueño. En el sueño me avisó. Dijo que hay un señor que te busca y te trae gente. Y dijo, aquí está gente, puedes llevar a pasear.
Tourism. It's considered a wonderful break from the real world.
Unmonitored tourism has apparently damaged the nation's coastline.
One last photo, one last chance for hundreds of tourists to visit Maya Bay. The beach is being put out of bounds after years of unrestricted tourism.
Holidays become cheaper and more people flood into tourism hotspots.
Over-tourism and environmental degradation.
20 million visit each
Even
year.
some tourists here are overwhelmed by the sheer number.
All these tourists end up drunk.
In some of the most popular
Say there are
tourist
just too many
They
tourists.
follow the same routes, see the same sights. Their impact is devastating.
Dude, holy
She and another tourist are accused of spray painting graffiti on an ancient wall.
Tourism can kill a place. A place that was so beautiful can become overused, exploited, and trashed. Mass tourism has led to destruction. It's led to the destruction of the very things that they've come to see.
Every year, thousands of Brits visit Thailand, and loads of them can't wait to get a picture with the local tigers.
A tourist has been caught on camera carrying a dolphin on a beach.
It's almost a disposable engagement in economy.
You live with a certain set of values at home, and why would you suspend those values when you decide to take a holiday?
It's a different set of behavior principles. We're hedonistic when we travel. We tend to have more showers. We tend to be more wasteful. We tend to eat more.
The tourist industry is a huge cash cow, but locals don't see much of that revenue.
The exploitation of the working class by the hotel industry.
So we have people who say that these volunteer trips abroad are sometimes only about the photo op.
And travel is in a very unfortunate state at the moment. As tourists, we're just such unconscious consumers.
Like a lot of travelers, I started out as a backpacker in Africa when I traveled to Asia. Late 70s, I was already starting to see negative impacts of tourism. So it set me off looking for the unspoiled, the uncharted. And that eventually led me to a place called Koh Phangan in Thailand. When I arrived in Koh Phangan in 1979, I was the first tourist to have arrived on that beach. There was one Thai family, a fisherman living there. His name was Somboon, and his wife Chom. And I stayed with them for 3 months, and it was magical. And I made a little map of that location. And unfortunately, I shared that with one person, who was my girlfriend at the time, and that map found its way to others, and soon other tourists began arriving. Now, I never went back, but in 1993, I opened the New York Times Magazine, and I was stunned. I saw a photograph of the beach with thousands and thousands of people celebrating something called the Full Moon Party. It was out of control. Masses of trash, out of control development. It ripped me apart from inside. To think that from the time I had arrived there in 1979, within a period of 10 years, this place was being utterly and totally destroyed. we have got to get tourism right. Because if we don't, we're going to see Kopangan reproduced around the world.
La conexión entre la cascada y la gente quichua es aprender, ¿no? Es nuestro maestro. Y aquí te pones para casi. Este lugar conozco yo. Cada familia o cada comunidad conoce. Este lugar es muy especial, porque tienen sus espíritus. De una anaconda. Puede ser de un tigre. Entonces, que nos transmite esa fuerza. Escucha. A ver, ¿me aceptas o no me aceptas? Se concentra y se escucha en la pared. Escucha. Entonces a veces tiene un sonido de música. Cuando hay un sonido de música, quiere decir que está abierto el templo.
We are born explorers. We have a carnal desire to want to travel. You know, people dream about travel. Our ancestors were all explorers. People risked their lives to travel originally.
Travel opens our eyes and we learn so much about the world and about ourselves.
Travel, it's a sense of our innate curiosity. We're driven by a desire to experience and to learn.
We were born to explore. We were born to want to seek out new experiences, learn from other cultures. And somewhere along the way, you become a tourist. You become someone who is disconnected from the very place you're traveling to.
This is the way to travel. Relax and enjoy yourself. Yes, this is the way to travel.
Back in the 1950s, when world tourism, mass tourism was just beginning, the first jets were crossing the Atlantic Ocean, there were 25 million international trips a year. Last year, that number was 1.3 billion. That's a multiplication of 52 times.
The jumbos are coming. Heathrow Airport took the arrival of the world's first fully loaded jumbo jet, the aircraft which will revolutionize the future of civil aviation.
Captain Jess Tranter and his crew brought the first jumbo from the States in just over 6.5 hours.
With the advent of mass air travel in the 1960s. 747, when it was inaugurated, was 3 times bigger than any public airplane before. So we've gone through a journey of global mass travel. Today, with technology, you can find ways to get to pretty much any part of the world now. The world has become an oyster for the masses.
Overtourism is simply too many people in the same place at the same time. The increase in visitors to the point where it is too much for the landscape and the environment, it's too much for the local residents. So you're seeing examples of it in what are sometimes called honeypot destinations. They're places that people just really want to go.
Places that used to be protected are becoming more accessible.
Places that are really being loved to death. We're having an infinitely growing number of tourists going to finite places that are exactly the same size they were back in 1950.
It's a fascinating history because it has everything to do with what was a great success, the end of the Cold War. Literally half of the world had been cut off from the other half during the Cold War. One of the first things the end of the Cold War did was open borders around the world. And with those open borders, trade. Around the globe, you saw the growth of the middle class. All of this within literally about a decade. This is astonishing.
We have emerging markets such as China and India coming onto the scene in terms of the affordability of travel.
Simultaneously, we had a great technological leap, the internet. Tourism's not an elite hobby anymore. Tourism has become a global industry.
This industry is covering our entire planet. 80% of the world's countries count tourism in their top 5 foreign exchange revenues. 1 out of 10 jobs in the planet is connected to the travel and tourism industry.
There's more travelers, it's easier and cheaper to travel, and the way we experience and our expectations for what we want when we travel have changed. The advent of social media has completely changed the way we've traveled. We're going after a photograph rather than actually truly having an experience.
Holidays are a status symbol. You work hard and you earn that vacation with your family once a year. It's status.
"29% of millennial travelers said they wouldn't go to a destination if they couldn't post about it on Instagram."
People see their friends who have taken a picture of themselves in a beautiful spot, and it spreads and it goes viral, and then everybody wants to go to that same beautiful spot.
Social media has become like the ultimate tasting menu.
Some of the most isolated and fragile areas are now getting inundated with people who just simply really want to say, I was here.
Is that our tourism industry? Are we just traveling for the iconic photo? Or are we really trying to truly change the way that we learn and gain and benefit and become enriched from travel?
មុនខ្ញុំនៅរាជធានីភ្នំពេញដល់ក្រោយមកទៅខ្ញុំដូរទីតាំងមកនៅសៀមរាបនេះបាទពពកបនេះតែខ្ញុំប្រកបមុខរបររយៈពេល18ឆ្នាំហើយបាទល្បិចខ្ញុំគូទឹកជ្រោះគូមានព្រំមានព្រៃអីចឹងណាចឹងទៅដល់ពេលអានេះលក់ដាច់ជាងគេដោយសារភ្ញៀវមកពីស្រុកគេមកចង់បានឃើញគោវត្តណាសូម្បីតែប្លង់ទីតាំងគោវត្តហ្នឹងគឺដឹងទាំងអស់គូប្លង់ពីលើក៏បានពីលើយន្តហោះក៏បាន
Right now, 2 cruise ships is there, and I can't believe nothing is not here. It's just as dry as though you see. And it's not only today, it's like always, for a good while now. It's like about 5 years now we have no season. And the cruise ships comes in like always and nothing for the locals. So I'm keep on wondering what is going on for us.
Over 2 months now I have make a sale at my store. My rent is just spoiling up and I can't make no money.
We are not benefiting from tourism. Tourists we don't get from the cruise ships that come into Montego Bay.
The sun on the largest racetrack at sea, zooming past Alaska's glaciers or pristine Caribbean beaches.
You know, when you find yourself like on a go-kart track on a cruise ship in the middle of an ocean and they've sold it to you, at some point you think, this is kind of weird.
The cruise ship business model is to basically keep the money, not surprisingly, flowing back to the ship.
There's seminars on how to go shopping to fulfill your diamond wardrobe.
Making sure you have a thread count in your bed sheets and you have amenities in your bathroom and you have 5 swimming pools and 6 restaurants to choose from and you can be in the Caribbean. Make sure you still get Italian food. Just think, maybe we should just think of another word for it, because it's not travel anymore. Because you're being transplanted from one Western environment to another Western environment. So let's just call it like a transfer of environments.
Most of the tours that they take onshore are sold actually on the ship, and the ship takes a hefty commission. A tour costs $80, $40 of that goes back to the ship as a commission. In addition to that, there are designated shops and restaurants on shore that the cruise lines have done arrangements with. So every time you shop in one of those stores, the cruise lines get a commission.
You arrive, you're given a little map of where you're supposed to shop and warned not to shop anywhere else because you can't trust the locals. It's the exact opposite of a real experience.
The reality is that there have been surveys of visitors, and when you look at how important is it that a particular resort or tour operator is keeping locals in mind, it's actually 10% that consider that.
Travel has taken a turn, and the destination is no longer relevant. I was born in Trinidad. I can speak firsthand. There's a tension that's built between local people and the tourist. And that tension is being used by the tour operators to build compound walls, pushing more and more people into isolation because they're saying, don't leave these walls because the natives are restless. Because they are restless, because they're not benefiting for the fact that you're living in luxury, consuming mass amounts of resources. But outside of those walls, there's not access to medical care or clean drinking water. Traditionally, tourism has been a one-way conversation.
The people who change your bed, clean your room, wait on your table, their wages are not very good at all. So you have very wealthy industry that pays very low, $50 a month for a waiter.
On the one hand, travelers being the source of money, and on the other one, workers being the source of profit, and that you just treat them like objects being exploited.
All-inclusive travel packages deny host communities. They don't just deny them revenue, they deny them even the richness of integration with traveler. How will tourism connect cultures when we have all-inclusive packages that keep you in your hotel in one place? Indeed, tourism can be a great distributor of wealth, only if we manage the distribution of the revenue that comes from tourism. If we don't do that, tourism will not contribute to development in destinations. I'll use a typical Kenyan example. You're going to Masai Mara in Kenya. If my trip costs $5,000, I book a whole package, how much of that $5,000 ends up in Masai Mara where your lodge is located and where you will enjoy your safari?
In a case like Kenya, only 14% of every dollar that's spent in the country stays in the country. The other 86% leaves the country. In terms of foreign ownership by hotels or airlines or transportation, in terms of food that needs to be brought in from somewhere else, anything that the country does not keep in their local pocket is called leakage.
What has been the case in Cambodia and in other countries too is that a lot of the foreign hotel chains will simply build their hotels, import the food, import all kinds of things, and take up that space so the locals aren't doing it, so that you are changing what that city or place is by making it foreign and not local. You're depriving the locals of a lot of economic space and cultural space. Most of the money goes to international companies.
Tourism has created consumption patterns in the minds of the traveler that need to be deconstructed a little bit. We have to change our mindsets about travel.
If you're going to Africa, especially with the rise of luxury travel, to go into a luxury lodge and have gourmet meals and sit in your air conditioning, and then, you know, on your ride in from the airport, you may have seen living conditions which really can be quite devastating. And this is absolutely a bubble that you're in.
The leakage is huge. Tourism can perpetuate poverty by not integrating communities. And you find, unfortunately, for some destinations, the most acclaimed tourism destinations also have the highest levels of poverty. But why does it happen? Because they were never integrated into the tourism value chain. We talk about tourism creating jobs in destinations, but we never question what kind of jobs. It's important to pay attention to how tourism impacts the developing world because of the vulnerability of the populations that live in tourism destinations. This is unlike the West, right? Where tourism still happens, but their host communities are not as vulnerable. These vulnerable populations live on a day-to-day basis. It's about survival every day. And they can be exploited by any economic activity because they desperately are in need of transforming their lives. The ability to question and to challenge capitalists and government policy becomes very difficult.
Asia, Africa, South America. This is where this crossroads, this critical crossroads of poverty, indigenous culture, and biodiversity are all found in the same place, and this is where tourism is going into right now.
We're traveling some of the most in need countries in the world, yet people are coming in and out of those countries and not benefiting local communities.
We as tourists have kind of lost the plot, I think. We're at a tipping point. We have a fundamental problem with tourism.
The biggest challenge facing the tourism industry today is the need for a paradigm shift, a change in the way of thinking of how we do travel.
Machu Picchu is a tourism hotspot where there's, hundreds of thousands of people are going there every year. Local communities migrate to where there's jobs or opportunities. The Andean communities that live in the rural areas, the younger generation is moving to the cities for work. Working in retail stores and restaurants, selling things on the street. Opportunities for them to stay within their communities becomes an issue. In the area surrounding Machu Picchu, there's very few jobs available. So the travelers pay thousands of dollars for their holidays, but outside of those tourism hotspots, they just drive right through and ignore all the other communities.
Traemos del río el agua, del volcán, con botobomba sacamos. No hay mucha oportunidad en la comunidad, trabajo. Sí, difícil es. Trabajo ahorita. Ahorita tengo maíz en el tendón.
De nuestros ancestros, a nosotros nos hicieron conocer, trabajar maíz. Ya. Esta es la semilla. Este año vamos a sembrar para el otro año. El turismo, ya recién esta comunidad está tratando, ya los hijos ya, está tratando de ponerse al camino del turismo, porque también el maíz con el cambio climático ya no es ya económicamente para dar la atención a la familia. Tengo 5 hijas, mujeres y 3 hijos varones, tengo 8. Con el turismo sería mucho más, como te digo, más satisfecho en el ingreso económico para dar la atención a la vida, al hijo y la familia. Sin el turismo no habría plata.
Mis abuelos siempre vivieron en esta comunidad. Y desde mi nacimiento estoy viviendo en esta comunidad. Desde 7 a 8 años nosotros aprendemos a hacer esto. A mí me enseñó mi abuela. Mi abuela antes lavaba su ropa con esto. Ella no tenía ace, sino con esto lavaba. En mi caso, yo fui una niña de mi mamá. Yo veía cómo mi mamá, cómo mi abuela tejía. Como también ahora, como la ciencia avanza, entonces a veces hemos dejado hasta nosotros mismos hacer nuestros trabajos de la comunidad, como nuestros abuelos hacían. Ya nosotros, como mis compañeras, estaban olvidándose a los teñidos, cómo se hacían los teñidos, con las plantas, con las flores, hasta el hilado, hasta el porcelado, ya nos estábamos olvidando. Pues aquí están nuestros cóndores, nuestros animales, flores, una mujer, los pescados. Aquí está el sol, la montaña, nuestra convivencia, nuestra naturaleza. Pachamama es una madre tierra que significa mucho para nosotros la tierra. Y ahí, gracias a Dios, yo fui una mujer que he pensado, ¿no? Nuestra cultura, porque estas cosas no se puede perder. Yo he dicho, no, yo como mujer voy a trabajar. Hemos empezado como con 22 señoras. Entonces ya empezamos a decir, ya, este diseño o este payay vamos a hacer igualito. Entonces entre nosotros nos enseñamos. Entonces ya nos enseñamos cómo se hacía, cómo nuestros abuelos hacían. Ay, cómo esta manta tejían, cómo este poncho hacían. Tú no te vas a retirar, tampoco tú. Vamos a trabajar en grupo, todos vamos a trabajar. Pero entre mujeres nos hemos dado fuerza. Ya de ella creció, ya más vamos recuperando o sea que los trabajos que hacían antes. Pero era muy triste. No estamos ganando plata. ¿Dónde vender? ¿Dónde vamos a vender lo que nosotros trabajamos? Como te digo, no me creían que yo decía, un día va a venir turista, ponte a trabajar, teje, vamos a vender. No me creían, no. Nunca va a venir turista a esta comunidad. Es mentira, me decía.
Ôi tụi bên for you for you
Do I take it?
Our research shows that the people who are buying tickets to these wildlife attractions are wildlife lovers. And they have no idea that they're harming the very animals they care about.
Actually, I'm really not sure what's natural and what's not. I have less knowledge, and that makes it for me really hard to have a great opinion about all the centers here. What happens after the show? Actually, I think if they just do the show and then they will go to a nice page with some forests and they will be treated well, then I have less a bad feeling. If that's how they live, actually, I feel bad, yes.
More than 500,000 animals are suffering around the world for different types of tourist attractions, just to entertain people.
completely shocking. It's a lot of cruelty. Tigers bred for tourism, exhibited sometimes in very small enclosures or in cages.
Tigers are used for selfies. That tiger was likely drugged. And dolphin experiences are also very popular in the Caribbean and Mexico. Elephants are still being poached from the wild for tourists to ride them or to force them to perform silly tricks for people. You're seeing a very sad, distorted version of that animal.
It's pretty grim. And those are the kind of things tourists need to learn about.
We have travelers who have knowledge about the places they are visiting because they have sat behind their computers, they have clicked through online travel agent and been given the glossy picture of where everything is. But they are not aware of what is happening, about what they're dealing with when they come to destinations. I think that tourism that doesn't have knowledge about the people in destinations that we travel to, it is not travel. It becomes more of a holiday from the reality of places.
Poverty, vulnerability of marginalized communities, gender inequality. These problems have existed in the world for ages and ages. Tourism didn't cause these problems. But every single person who decides to become a tourist have to make a choice whether I am going to be part of the solution or not. Tourism is a big industry. I mean, it's a booming industry, and more people are talking about responsible tourism, sustainable tourism. They're talking about how they can give back to the communities and how they can make their experiences of travel more meaningful. But there has to be an interaction, there has to be a sharing, there has to be knowledge. It's when we travel to different places, we learn about things. There are other worlds possible. There are other ways of being. You know, we build an understanding of the world which is so much more diverse than where I live and what I know about.
रात के 12 बजे भी घूम रहा है, कुछ भी, एवरीथिंग इज गुड। मतलब लड़का है तो सब कुछ कर सकता है, उसके ऊपर कोई प्रेशर नहीं है। और लड़की है, चाहे वो बहू हो चाहे खुद की बेटी हो, उसको किसी तरह की कोई आज़ादी नहीं है।
कहीं ना कहीं लड़कियों को, अगर जैसे कि लड़कियां अगर बाहर निकल के कुछ काम करती तो जेंट्स लोग का माइंड में ये सेट होता है नज़रिया जो लोगों का है लड़कियों के प्रति वो गलत है।
1 in 3 women globally have faced violence in her lifetime. In India, more than 90% of the cases of violence that happen against women are happening in their families and communities. The reality is that women's own homes and their own communities are the most violent places. If you look at the records of crime against women across the world, it's not just in India that we are fighting against oppression. Can tourism be a part of the solution?
Wir haben die Elefanten hier gesehen, wie sie gequält wurden, wie die Leute Geld damit machen. Sie werden mit Haken attackiert, gezwungen, Sachen zu machen, die einfach nicht dem natürlichen Lebenslauf entsprechen, was Elefanten sonst so in ihrer Umgebung machen. Ja, sie werden mit den Haken, es werden Cuts in die Haut gemacht, sie werden verletzt, gequält.
Also wir haben gesehen, wie Elefanten so stark verletzt wurden, wie Touristen darauf reiten und der ganze Kopf vom Elefant blutet und die Leute sich trotzdem an dem erfreuen und irgendwie blenden alle aus, dass die Tiere hier nur gequält werden.
For travelers, when you visit a place, you become part of that place from the moment you arrive by what you do, where you spend your money, who you talk to, how you behave. There's an interaction going on. This wallet is a vote. And every dollar or euro you spend is sending a message, I like this, do more of it.
There are more than 3,000 elephants suffering in tourist attractions across Southeast Asia. In Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand is really the hot spot for this. What people don't realize is the harsh treatment that the elephants have to endure in order to accept a person on their back.
The tourists expect to see the elephant performing. There's no way for the elephant will be performing without train. See that this is they come together. The only way that is to take the baby separate from the mother.
It's horrific, really. I hate to tell people about it, but I think people need to know that any elephant that's forced to give tourists rides or perform circus-like tricks for them was beaten into submission.
For the female, it will take about 3 days. For the bull, weeks or 2 weeks. In every day, they will train elephant and beat and start to let them know the hook. Some, they tie the trunk on the post. When I start to ask them, why you tie the trunk? The man who trained elephant, he said, you have to tie the trunk because it's all else the elephant kill himself. How they kill themselves? By their own trunk, to lose the blood.
Many elephants experience post-traumatic stress disorder. You can see them rocking back and forth, pacing. These are called stereotypical behaviors. We've never seen them in the wild in elephants.
And it's the same with chimpanzee or a gorilla, orangutan or monkey, and lions and tigers. They become psychotic. They show very abnormal behavior, pacing back and forth, and in the end will become deeply depressed and just withdraw into him or herself, like a person would. You see the same with orphan children in some of these terrible orphanages.
Describes. Does it describe a noun? What is a noun? I don't have any teaching qualification. I've not done my teaching English as a second language qualification. It's not necessary. If you want to spend time with the children and enjoy spending time with children, it's all you need. And like a basic understanding of English yourself. It's super easy to volunteer. We emailed maybe 3 weeks before coming here, absolute most. Video called us the night before to confirm times, make sure everything was all okay, and then, yeah, then we were here within 24 hours. It was so simple. It couldn't have been any easier.
Volunteering is one of tourism industry's fastest growing trends and is often unregulated. About $2 billion a year are spent through volunteerism by sending out 10 million volunteers.
I spent my entire childhood in institutional care. The number of volunteers that came in through the doors, you lose count. There are so many.
Imagine a busload of tourists coming in to a school and disturbing a class.
Guys, I found the kindergarten.
To play with the kids, to take selfies with them.
She's gonna let me come see the babies. I don't think they've ever seen hair like mine before. We can't really talk to each other, but honestly, they just want to touch you.
Sometimes give out candy, and then also expect the children to do a performance for them. Would this happen in your own country? Probably not. So why do tourists think it's okay to do it in developing countries?
See this savior complex. This idea that you can go abroad without skills, without qualifications, whether you know the local language, have worked with the issue before. It's this rooted in this belief that you can actually change societies and communities. Let's be honest here. This is neo-colonialism. This is deeply rooted in prejudice.
Beautiful. Anything else? White, beautiful.
The visible impact of volunteerism is what we see. It's the pictures from those who went to the orphanage. It's the report from the company, the amount that was contributed. But the invisible emotional impact that happens when we go to these places and leave is undocumented.
Garcia, can you just tell me where we are and where we're going?
We are at Watoto Baraka Children's Home. Here, I've been here since I was in grade 4. We were around 42 children. I've been here for 8 years. And here this is where we used to play. And here, mostly when the volunteers could come, here we could just entertain them.
In 2008, I boarded an airplane from Toronto to Nairobi. I remember meeting Teresia very well. Teresia was one of the older girls at the orphanage. She was friendly, she approached me, she cuddled with me, she wanted to talk to me, play with my hair, braid my hair, and I'll be honest, this just made me feel absolutely wonderful.
Okay, so this thing that I get donation from Korean group. We're just calling this a restaurant. The money that I can support for this building, I owe a lot of money from the bank. 50,000 US dollar from the bank.
Since 2005, in Cambodia, there's been a 75% increase in orphanages. And this directly reflects the tourism industry. So what this 75% increase shows is that orphanage tourism has become a lucrative business.
I show you the accommodation for the volunteer and guest or visitor. So the volunteer, they can sleeping like this. The volunteer come that we ask them to pay for accommodation.
Majority of the orphanages follow a very similar pattern. So you usually see a lot of children in very dire conditions. The operators want to pull at the heartstrings of these travellers and these volunteers to get the donations from them at the end. Orphanages has become a dirty word. They've rebranded themselves as child centres or residential care institutions so they can still attract volunteers, attract travellers under the same game. About 80% of children living in orphanages have at least one living parent.
Ndiaiguaga tondu riria ndathii kumuona ri mathina ma guthoma mathina ma nguo ma kwaga irio agiteithike na guthoma na maundu ma mabataro ma kimundu ndakire ona ruo tondu nona agikoretwo mamu wao ni ahuruka angi ndakireraga.
Research has shown that poverty is a big factor. Communities, they are quick to push children into these places as a quick fix. And unfortunately, that does not work in the children's interest. So what then does that tell you? Volunteerism fuels the demand for children to be in these facilities. It fuels the separation of children from their families of origin.
I be building a big like a zoo to them to stay. For them to stay all together is I think in the future. For me, feed them, love them like my children. Like I take care of the children in here.
It is very difficult to separate volunteerism from the kind of orphanage zoo kind of tourism where we go and we click and we cuddle animals and we take nice pictures. And we go to orphanage homes through volunteers and do exactly the same thing. It's a mirror of what we do with animals in the zoo. To do this with little ones, children, with another human being.
It's very painful memories. I'm thinking how many years I wasted in depression. We knew we had family members who loved us, but you described yourself as a total orphan. And we had nobody to totally share with the truth.
Someone came into my life today, but then tomorrow they weren't there. I felt worthless, undeserving.
You can tell that all of the children here, they want that relationship, that connection. They just want to be with you. They will write messages like, "We love you so much. Thank you for helping our school. Thank you for bringing money."
A decade has passed, and I'm learning that those hugs and affection, they're a sign of an attachment disorder. It means they will be unable to form healthy bonds later in life. I was just one of many volunteers who came through a rotating door off a bus to hug them, to play with them, causing them harm. I had all the best of intentions, but in hindsight, I didn't do my homework. I didn't take the time to really understand what communities needed, what my impact would have been on those communities, or why those children were there. And when I got there, I really learned the horrible truth. They were there because I wanted to be there, not because they needed to be there. And because of people like me, they were separated from their families.
1 in 3 ends up homeless. 1 in 7 gets involved in prostitution. 1 in 5 has a criminal record. And 1 in 10 ends up committing suicide. These are experiences I have lived through. I'm the last born in a family of 6. And we were 6 of us taken to an orphanage. We all left at different times. But it was not long after that my brother committed suicide. And so for many children that are going through what I went through, it's important that we think really about what is right for them.
It's a really sad day as well because all of our volunteer teachers will leave us. So sing loudly, please.
And how can they still get to be in family settings? How can they get to experience the love and care of a family?
There are different ways of doing volunteerism, and we can do volunteerism without being disruptive, but still leaving a positive footprint. And in situations where we can determine that positive footprint in advance, and we can be accountable for our actions, I think it's the best way of volunteering.
So talk to us just a little bit about the Stahili Foundation that you helped found after making this.
Well, a couple of years later, we came together and realizing what was actually happening in the institution, Stahili was born. It wasn't initially born as an NGO. It started
The most important thing about being a responsible traveler is to be an informed traveler.
For me, the travels that I took were really my education.
To lead us in the direction of ensuring that this massive industry that we call travel and tourism and all of its components protects the very places we visit.
Koh Phangan. It was a real dramatic experience that kind of made me begin to question conservation from a different perspective. And suddenly tourism became a part of that.
We should ask more questions about the places that we want to visit. And I'm not asking the traveler to be government. I'm not asking them to be the inspector of tourism. I'm just asking them to put value on the places that they visit.
What if we could harness tourism? What if tourism was done differently? What if tourism was based on supporting local people? What if tourism actually invested and supported the very places that people were traveling to see?
I go and see our herd. I will call them now. Ba Mai! Ba Mai! Ma Phe! Come on, baby! Ma leo! Ma leo! We create here to be the home, the last home for elephant. We rescue elephant from abuse and overwork.
There are many places that have rescued elephants from these other tourist attractions. These elephants can't be released into the wild, but there is hope for the elephants that are currently in captivity. If we were to phase out elephant rides, they still could have a life worth living if they're provided a proper natural environment.
We sustainable by tourist visitor and use the money to expand the land and rescue more elephants. We don't train them with the trust, but we train them with love.
You can, as a tourist, feel good about supporting these venues and seeing elephants in proper sanctuaries. Those people are leading the way and helping us shift this change in tourism demand.
Yes, baby, I love you. 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 That's my baby. I rescue her. I rescue them when they are young. You are the orphan. You are the orphan, eh? The most animal rights people just said that they love animal, but they hate people. But for me, my philosophy, no. I just believe that if you want to change something, change the people from your heart. Don't hate them.
The important fact that unless we work to improve the lives of local communities around an area that we want to conserve, if we don't do something to help the people, we can't even try to conserve the animals.
Responsible tourism is tourism that puts people first. It must be inclusive of the people in destinations that we travel to.
If communities are helped a little bit, then they do better.
Myself, I come from the Hill tribe family. I come from the poor family. I love animal and I want to help animal. People believe animal doesn't have feeling, and they think only us, the human, that feel love, feel angry, feel pain, feel loss. But they never know that it's animal feel the same of us. They're not different from us. When I see the people love to come and see animal performing, I think because people didn't know the truth. So that's why we need education. We need to tell them. The more people education, the more people will care for the others.
Because if tourists didn't go and pay money to see these entertainments, then the entertainments would change.
It's the time for us to get educated and start to think about that before you're traveling. Respect for the other life.
But if we don't demand of it, they will keep selling us the same packages. When we as travelers begin to demand this, then the travel industry will give it to us.
एक्चुअली मेरी अरेंज मैरिज थी। मुझे लगा 22 सही है, कर लेना चाहिए। वो चलता रहा और एक दिन ऐसा आया कि उन्होंने मुझे इतनी बुरी तरह मारा कि मेरे नाक से ब्लड तक आ गया। इवन जब मुझे 2 घंटे बाद होश आया तो उन्होंने ये तक कोशिश नहीं करी कि वो मुझे हॉस्पिटल ले जाए। उसी दिन मैंने डिसाइड किया, उसी रात मैंने डिसाइड किया कि इनफ। मैंने अपना सारा सामान वहीं छोड़ा, बस मैंने अपना लाइसेंस लिया था और मेरे 1-2 डॉक्यूमेंट्स थे जो मेरे पर्स में डाला और मैं वहाँ से अपनी जॉब के लिए निकली।
I think one of the most important ways of making tourism more sustainable is by engaging with organizations like Sakha, where every time a tourist comes and uses a Sakha cab, they are contributing to new pathways for women's empowerment.
इवन जब फॉरेनर्स और जब मिलते हैं ना हमसे तो बहुत ज़्यादा एक्साइटेड होते हैं। बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस होते हैं उसके, ओल्ड दिल्ली में क्या अच्छा है, न्यू दिल्ली में क्या है, या
A majority of Sakha clients are foreign tourists. Tourism has played a significant role in helping women drivers, that those who are in more vulnerable positions get opportunities for a livelihood with dignity. Driving, it strikes at the heart of patriarchy because patriarchy, one of the key things it rests upon is restriction of mobility for women, and it's linked to the whole issue of violence. Normally, little girls grow up inside homes. They're not even allowed to be on the roads and streets.
पहले की ये था कि जब जैसे हमने स्टार्ट किया था ट्रेनिंग के माध्यम, क्योंकि उस टाइम हमें कोई ट्रेनिंग नहीं दी गई थी, तो एक डर था घर दिल में कि मैं वहाँ तक जाऊँगी तो कैसे जाऊँगी।
आप लोगों को सबको एक साइन चार्ट मिला है ना? अब हर एक साइन का, हर एक चिन्ह का क्या मतलब है? क्योंकि जब हम सड़क पर जाते हैं, हम सब ने देखा कोई ना कोई चिन्ह होता है, लेकिन उसका वो चिन्ह क्यों है, उसका कोई मतलब होता है, इसलिए वो चिन्ह होता है ना?
Driving, it brings women out of their homes, onto the roads, behind powerful cars. I think anyone who has ever learned driving in their lives will identify with that feeling because it does make you feel empowered. Today in Delhi, we have nearly 40 cars and we are able to give employment to more than 100 women chauffeurs through this initiative. We believe that women need to get into the travel industry because there is a huge transformative impact that this amount of money has. Women are able to negotiate delayed marriages or better marriages or walk out of violent relationships. Ultimately, if there are just more number of women on the road, their own homes will also become safer for themselves.
ये ब्रेक ऑयल है, ठीक है?
ये ब्रेक ऑयल?
हाँ, ये ब्रेक ऑयल है, ये स्टीयरिंग ऑयल है। मैक्सिमम और मिनिमम होता है इसमें भी। देखो आपका यहाँ तक ये दिख रहा है, मैक्सिमम इतना, मिनिमम इतना, और ये देखो यहाँ तक
और मैं कमर्शियल ड्राइवर हूँ पिछले 6 सालों से। और मुझे काफ़ी प्राउड फील होता है अपने ऊपर कि क्योंकि किसी मतलब जो हमारे सोसाइटी की मतलब हमारे समाज की जो थिंकिंग है, उनको ये लगता है कि ये काम ना बस जेंट्स के लिए है और हम लोगों के लिए नहीं है। तो कहीं ना कहीं मुझे ना उनको प्रूव करना था कि ये काम हम लोग भी कर सकते हैं, इसलिए मैंने इस चीज़ को चुना। तो अब जाके अभी लास्ट वीक ही मुझे मेरे पेपर्स मिले हैं डिवोर्स के, तो आई एम सो हैप्पी, जैसे बहुत खुश हूँ जो मैं बयान नहीं कर सकती।
I think that as travelers, we should seek more to connect with the reality of places. We need a change of mindset to become more aware travelers, to become more conscious travelers. We need the industry in itself to transform and change completely.
Era para nosotros un sueño ese día. Ay, plata que nunca hemos ganado, podemos ganar ahora.
We were taking passengers through that area on the way to Machu Picchu. You know, hundreds of thousands of passengers going right through the Sacred Valley, and you realize that there's an area there that had zero employment for women. And really, it was just on the way to Machu Picchu. We met Francesca and her community, and we realized that they had an idea.
Nosotros hacemos este tipo de trabajo, ya le hacemos ver la manta, el pasadizo, chalina, que tejíamos, así chuspitas, todo tipo de trabajo. Pues yo he dicho, ¿nos puedes traer turistas a mi comunidad?
For us, it seemed like a natural extension on the way to Machu Picchu. So it made sense for us to have a dialogue with the community to think of how can we help and how can we bring passengers to you. You know, what we have to do as tour operators is listen and create a dialogue with local communities. That's the basis of community tourism. Actually listening to the storytelling locally of what local people want.
Culture preserves itself. Tourism can come in and strengthen it and showcase it to the world without trying to alter it. That starts by asking the question, is tourism the right tool for this area? And if it is, in what form will it benefit the host community?
I mean, that's really the magical part of tourism when you get it right. When you create that dialogue and you're meeting the needs for everyone, and you're creating an amazing experience for travelers.
La comunidad antes, como ahorita lo están viendo, no era así. No había, y las casas como ahorita ves, antes era así la calle. Y ahora lo están arreglando con piedras para que no haya mucho barro. Entonces ya podemos hacer estudiar a nuestros hijos, ya podemos vivir mucho mejor, y también hemos construido la escuela. Entonces ahora mi hija estudia, mi menorcita está en la universidad.
There's the multi-generational ripple effect impact goes beyond creating jobs.
You give locals a voice, and you give all the different stakeholders a voice, and you develop it with the community in mind and with the natural assets in mind, and you protect those two. Then you have a great experience and you make money and everybody can win.
El turista pregunta, él de su trabajo se enamora, y nosotros estamos felices con lo que le enseñamos, lo que nosotros hacemos en esta comunidad. A base de la artesanía, todo eso nosotros a ellos le enseñamos. Esta es mi casa, en mi humilde casa que vivo aquí, yo, mi esposo y mis dos hijas. Él está aquí trabajando, ayudándome a mí, porque yo ya me voy a mi trabajo. Nos apoyamos marido y mujer. Y también ya se pueden quedarse los turistas que llegan de otro país a vivir en esta casa. Hoy día estoy atendiendo a dos turistas, ¿no? Una pareja que se han quedado aquí. Hemos ido a la chacra a trabajar. Juntos nos hemos cocinado, juntos estamos desayunando. Coman más, coman. ¿Quién no quiere más? Sí.
These places that we visit, that we call destinations, are actually people's homes. We have come into people's homes.
A traditional homestay is about staying with a family in which they've set the conditions and the terms to welcome you as part of their lives, and you stay with them in their home. You share their day-to-day life, and they open their world to you. They become the local guide, they teach you about the local culture, and they also help us remember we are guests in somebody else's home, in somebody else's country, in somebody else's community.
Turismo comunitario, el turismo organizado, rompe todas las barreras que se puede decir para poder mejorar, no para destruir, sino para mejorar. Con buenas visiones, como se dice. Y el turismo para mí no es negocio, esto es amor para mí, como se dice, una ayuda para mí, una capacitación. El símbolo suyo es Yacuarbi, ¿no? Se llama Yacuarbi, mujer del río o mujer de la lluvia. Nuestros chamanes, significado tiene que, como son espíritus, entonces nosotros estamos concentrados con los espíritus. ¿Sí? Por ¿sí? Se pesca, tiene que saltar así.
Ya, chévere.
Como hombre araña. Ya. Entonces nosotros hemos venido de una familia Omawa, desde los ríos Amazonas. Entonces nuestra cultura ha venido, sube por la ribera, vivir aquí. Hemos tenido este terreno, ¿no? Y para sobrevivir nosotros. Entonces aquí toca mantener también bonito. Entonces estas son las piedras que usaban ancestralmente para cortar armas, ¿no? Muchos tienen esa familia. Estas no tienen, ¿ya? Nuestro trabajo ancestral es buscar oro, hacer esto, pita, copal para los vasos. Cuando no había pasajeros, ya, nosotros dedicamos este pequeño río buscando el oro, ¿no? Para ver si sacamos un poquito siquiera para poder comprar la comida. Porque antes cuando no trabajábamos no teníamos comida. Entonces ahora comimos 3 veces, ¿no? Igual con los pasajeros.
The challenge of how to deal with increasing numbers of tourists is going to be with us for the foreseeable future. And part of it is simple arithmetic.
We're going to likely have close to 10 billion people on planet Earth in the next 35 years.
If you add 160 million visitors to the current number of 1.4 billion travelers that are traveling now, every year that's going to increase, and then you add it to the already 2 or 3%, which is the global growth, you have a phenomenal amount of people traveling.
We're in an all-hands-on-deck moment. If, just like a light switch, right now I could just go click and shut down the entire global aviation industry, every plane flight in the world. What does that look like?
Airplanes are supposed to fly in the sky, but currently there are more planes on the ground. The coronavirus effect has been fast and devastating.
There have been so many lives lost. The numbers are impossible to grasp.
COVID-19 has now spread to more than 140 countries, truly borderless disease.
Most borders are lines on a map. The virus is taking no account of those.
Travel into the European Union is being severely restricted. Governments are sealing their borders.
India is suspending tourist visas.
Thailand's tourism authority expects a drop of 6%.
Restrictions on foreigners coming into Kenya. Some airports have turned into ghost towns.
Tourist hotspots are virtually empty.
Many destinations are in lockdown.
Travel was down 80%.
Millions in one of the world's biggest industries suffering a devastating blow to their livelihoods.
Many countries in the developing world being hit hard when a high percentage of their GDP was tourism dependent.
Waiting for the tourists who seem to have vanished into thin air.
Wondering if their jobs and their means to provide for their families are going to be able to survive this.
You've seen the disruption in some of the most sophisticated supply chain countries in the world. You can imagine if you have a problem there, what you're going to have in the most fragile environments or economies.
International travel today is one of the strongest catalysts for conservation and poverty alleviation that we have.
Tourism has an opportunity to change now. We have to learn how to make this interaction and sharing more responsible.
The idea we've had of a tourist has to end. We need a new tourist, a new traveler.
The key issue isn't do we stop travel, it's how do we get travel right.
We travelers are a very powerful lot. So when travelers say things like, I can only do that because that is what is available, what did you ask for? What do you yourself want as a traveler? How much do you want a different form of travel? How much do you want to reduce leakages in destinations? How much do you want to be accountable for your actions during the travel? How much do you want to leave positive footprints out of your travel?
At heart, an ethical traveler isn't selfish. They don't just see travel as being about them. It's not just their trip. The trip is shared not only with other travelers, but with residents and with the environment.
Responsible tourism can be really beneficial to the animals, to the environment, to the local people, to the government, and to the tourist.
For sustainability to be achieved, it's about educating the tourist. The tourist has to understand the power they have. If people just took the time to do a bit of research on where their money's going, you have this ability to suddenly make your holiday a transformative experience for so many people that would be impacted by your decision to just go on holiday.
Making sure that travel companies are being held accountable. This is what you're saying, this is what you're selling. So now I'm going to take the tour, and I want to make sure that this is actually what you're delivering, not only to me as a traveler, but to the workers too.
We have a responsibility to ask the hotel what they're doing for the local community, or if the hotel or cruise ships have an environmental policy.
As a traveler, tip generously. That's the best person-to-person thing you can do.
When abroad and considering interacting with activities such as visiting a school or an orphanage, it's always good to step back and ask yourself, would this be okay in my country? And if it's not, there's a good chance you shouldn't be doing it.
Do your research, make informed decisions, understand what happens behind the scenes. Simple rule of thumb, if you can ride it, hug it, or take a selfie with a wild animal, chances are it's cruel, so don't do it.
We need to be responsible about where we're purchasing our products and make sure that we buy ethically sourced and locally sourced. We need to bring our own water bottle and our own coffee cup. It's unexcusable now. We need to stop using single-use plastics.
I think one of the most important ways of making tourism more sustainable is by ensuring that we work with community-owned initiatives. Tourism can encourage a redistribution of wealth.
Travel can be the greatest form of wealth distribution that the world has ever seen. And suddenly your holiday can be transformed into your form of giving back. Imagine a world where that happens.
I think the travelers are like pollinators. Wherever they go, they get pollinated by ideas, experiences, places, situations, people. And they're transporting them to other places. But they also contribute, because they have the privilege of traveling to many other places. So if they get the right message, the right ideas, the right questions, that will create a very good synergy.
By traveling, by meeting new people, by learning new things, you become part of, in India we say Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. World is a family.
Ahora decimos, se valió la pena, hemos salido así. Ya fácilmente ahora no nos podemos.
para mí, la selva es mi vida, como les digo, mi respiración. No canche shungo. No canche shamushkanchi alpamanda, kai no canche charinche aicha. Es un ser viviente que entra a uno para poder sentir de lo que la selva me está ayudando. Decimos que ahí está la Pachamama, el espíritu. Alpa mangata pichangue, alpa mangata rurangue, no canche cause me casca. Alpa mangata rurangue, alpa mangata pichangue, no canche cause me casca. Nuestros ancestros nos han dejado enseñando, ¿no? No con papeles, no con libros, sino dando energías por la cabeza. Yo primero tuve un sueño. En el sueño me avisó. Dijo que hay un señor que te busca y te trae gente. Llegó el señor en un barco grande llegó. Y dijo, aquí está gente, puedes llevar a pasear. Y nos fuimos al mar. Y en el mar estábamos parados jugando. Y los pasajeros dijeron, ¿qué pasa que no nos hundimos? Yo quedé pensando y dije, no. Cuando hacemos bien las cosas, cuando hacemos sin maltratar a otra persona o sin mal lograr, como se diga, alzando más.
All right. I am committed to traveling responsibly.
I commit to making travel decisions that align with my personal values.
I think it's fantastic for travelers to always have a mindset of how can I support the locals.
Small changes can go a long way.
I commit to never using plastic bags, utensils, coffee cups, and shampoo and conditioner bottles.
Because we are the ones that are visiting, it is very important to be mindful towards the local communities.
Refuse housekeeping. It's such a simple thing to do, but you only really need your bed sheets washed every few days, same with your towels, and it saves a lot of water.
Choosing hotels and accommodation that have sustainable practices.
I'm also committing to only using reef-friendly sunscreen to ensure that chemicals aren't leaching into our oceans.
Never participating in cruel animal tourist attractions.
I commit to supporting women-led businesses, organizations, and shopping fair trade whenever I possibly can.
Trying to encourage people to travel solo or in small groups. If you are going to choose a group tour, then choose one that supports and works with locals.
I commit to always doing my research before I sign up to volunteer with any organization, and I commit to making sure my impact is sustainable over the long term.
Go to a local fresh market, go to a local farmer's market and buy the things from the locals where the money goes right back into the economy.
Deciding where we put our money, to what businesses do we support.
I'm continually thinking about how my travel choices can have an impact.
both positively and negatively.
And so I think it's up to us as travelers, you and me. We have a responsibility to search out opportunities that will benefit communities because we have so much information at our fingertips.
Sustainable, responsible, ethical travel, all of these practices, everyone needs to be aware of it and needs to think about it when they're exploring this great world that we live in.
Because I want to keep exploring this big, beautiful planet of ours.
I think what the world needs now is for people to travel.
Rivers move through time, carving their legacy. What you leave behind is more than a memory, more than a memory. No matter where you wander, when you hear the rising thunder, let it fill your heart with wonder. No matter where the road is, leave it better than you found it. No matter where you wander. You can count the stars,